Now, some YouTubers like to get a little overly excited every time Bitcoin winks at them or flashes one perky green candle their way.
Today for the Bitcoin price. And yes, guys, it is happening. It is happening right now for Bitcoin.
And then even worse, you have the YouTubers where whether Bitcoin's going up or down, they're always posting videos where they think they're funnier than they actually are.
Hey, what up? Whatever the heck you just said.
But you know what? I have zero issue with it because, as they say, all roads lead to Rome.
Just short of a Tony, aren't we, Rob? What do you reckon? What do you reckon that drop? Oh my God!
Some roads might just be a little easier to navigate, so to say. That being said, this is TA with K. If you're liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe. In today's video, we're going to go over 3 more charts that I look at every day before deciding whether to buy or sell crypto. And again, we're going to have one more bonus chart that not a lot of people talk about. Let's go. All right, so the first chart we're going to dive into, which is actually not a chart so much as it's just a page with real-time data to do with funding rates. Now, this is a follow-up to the bonus chart from yesterday on coinglass.com /funding rates. Now, the reason why this chart's so useful is obviously you can use it in Confluence with other things. But for the most part, what I look at each day on this is you can look at something like Binance and Bitcoin, right? Binance is the biggest exchange, so it's the one I'm going to care about the most. However, it does group together a ton of exchanges here. You've got like FTX, which is another big exchange, Bybit, and so forth, right? Well, what you look for in general is, right now I'm on the dark skin, I guess you call it. You can go up here on the top right where this light bulb is. You can turn it to white as well. So depending on which one you're on, if it's black, if the percentages are black in this case, or when I was on the dark one, they were white, that means the funding rates are neutral for the most part for that particular exchange, right? So you can see right now Binance is neutral for Bitcoin, Ethereum. I usually just pay attention mostly to the largest coins, and so obviously Bitcoin. If they're red just means that the funding rate is negative. It means that the I guess longs are paying shorts in that case, so there's more longs. And then if it's green or positive, it would just mean that shorts are paying longs, and there's more shorts in that case. Green, if you're hoping for the market to go up, or the market is making a move up, one way you can tell if there's still potential for more strength or more momentum in that direction is if the funding rates are, for the most part, green. You can see we have some red mixed in here over on like BitMEX, a couple of these other exchanges, but you look at Binance, which is the largest, and Bybit, which is another highly leveraged exchange. And it's, for the most part, you're seeing neutral or green, so that's a positive thing. Now, basically, there's no exact science to this, but if you see overly green, you can kind of expect there's a good chance the market can continue to go up, or if it's been going down, then it's going to have a bounce soon and go up, or vice versa. If it's more red than green, look for a potential pullback. The second chart we are going to discuss is the total 3 chart, which is just the total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's taking all the other altcoins and showing what their total value is, in this case $650 billion currently. And it's excluding Bitcoin, which is obviously the largest, and Ethereum, which is the second largest. I've discussed previously on the channel, a lot of people like to use the total 2 chart, which just excludes Bitcoin. I personally like to use the total 3, so we exclude both of those 2 largest coins and focus on everything else. So to state the fairly obvious, we've been in a downtrend since the end of last year. If you look right here on December 27th, that was this top, and it's just been putting in a series of lower highs ever since. This zone or trend line, it's been being met as resistance. And we've basically been slowly bleeding money out of the altcoins, which if you've been holding on to altcoins since the end of last year, then that's why I say I'm stating the obvious. I'm sure you've seen your portfolios, for the most part, go down, unless you were lucky in holding just select few coins. But on the other side of this, it's looking like, it's potentially put in a double bottom here, potentially I say, and you kind of have this zone here that it's interacted with on a lot of, on multiple occasions, once here, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, so a ton of times it's interacted with right where it's at now. And it's not perfect, but we're kind of forming a descending triangle, which, if anything, doesn't necessarily tell us bullish or bearish, but what it can signal is that we're going to see some sort of a substantial move coming soon as it gets more compressed and enters what we might call decision time. So what we'd like to see from a bullish perspective would be for it to break out of this wedge, above that trend line, retest and push higher, somewhere up into here, and that would be good for altcoins in the crypto market. The flip side of that is it could break down, retest bearishly and head this direction, which could spell a short, mid to slightly longer term bear market. So something to keep an eye on. And the third chart I want to go over is the S&P 500, with institutions now joining the crypto game and buying and selling and holding Bitcoin. It's become highly correlated with the traditional stock market. So this isn't 100% by any means, but from a statistical standpoint, the majority of the time that the S&P 500 is going up, Bitcoin follows. When it goes down, Bitcoin follows. So this is the weekly chart. We can't gain a ton of data on this, short-term and mid-term, obviously, but I just wanted to start with this to kind of show that the S&P 500, or stocks, traditional stocks, have been in a crazy uptrend ever since, well, forever, basically. But definitely since 2011, it's been kind of in a straight upward trajectory. But one thing I wanted to showcase was this yellow moving average, which is the 200 on the weekly. It retested it here in 2011 once, right? It retested it again here in 2015. It retested it here again in 2018. Lost it during the COVID crash for obviously, obvious reasons, but it was able to recover, but that would be considered a retest in 2020 or 2019. And then, we haven't retested it since. So it wouldn't be completely out of the question at some point in the coming future for us to come down and test this. Now, keep in mind that this is, this is moving up this entire time. And the longer it takes to retest it, this will just continue to come up. So we don't know at which point, if and when it will retest it, but just something to keep on your radar that could represent anywhere from a 15 to 20% pullback for stocks if this was to represent the local top. Zooming into the daily chart, we could use it a little bit easier or better to time buying and selling Bitcoin. Obviously, you see this zone here that was previously support back here, and then it, ran up, came back, retested again, put in a lower high though, came down but bounced one last time. Finally, it has recently lost that support. Now it's kind of down here in this little zone of support, which is where it bounced here. Now, what we're looking for here is either for it to bounce again. We might get some short-term upside out of Bitcoin and altcoins if it follows, back up to retest this zone of, which will probably be resistance now until we can flip it. Or even more likely, or just as likely, I guess you could say, would be that if it comes down here and at some point loses this support level, and then bearish retests it, you would know that would be a good time to get out of your altcoin and Bitcoin positions, because there's a good highly likely that it will follow it and head back this way and retest some of this lower support. So that's how I use the S&P 500. And the bonus chart I wanted to talk about, which is one that not a lot of people use in the crypto space, is the Crypto Fear and Greed Index over time chart. A lot of people do talk about the daily from day to day, like, oh, we're greedy right now, or we're extremely fearful or fearful. And a lot of people, or most people, know that when it's greedy, it's the best time to sell, and when it's fearful, you're looking at the best time to buy. But I like pulling up this little chart. This one's only from 2018, but it gives you more data. That way you can kind of know, hey, historically, what levels are we at? From a more macro zoomed out version, the same thing we do with normal charts, right? So, for example, back here it shows that in 2019 in June, that was when we got all the way up here close to what they call the highest greed, which would be 100, which is how this chart measures it, 0 to 100. We spent a lot of time up there recently, this past year, past couple years, in December and January and stuff. Right now, we're actually, so we can go do this 1 year, for example, and we're clear down here at about 20, looks like. And you could chart this out just like you would any other chart. You could draw some lines across here, support, resistance, stuff like that. And we can see that even though we are fearful, we definitely could go another leg lower. It looks like down here around 10 historically has been where we've bounced from. So you would know that, hey, we could definitely go lower, but we're definitely a lot closer to the bottom of the fear than we are to the top. So if you're a long-term investor, you could use this chart to say, hey, I have a plan or a strategy to start DCAing into Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever your favorite altcoins are once it reaches a certain level. And that is all she wrote for today. If you're enjoying the content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for stopping in on TA with MK. My name is McKay, and you guys have a wonderful day. It's TA.